In this demo video, I am going to be designing a pulley that we will 3D print later. That's going to be attached to the motor of a robot eventually. Let's open up the Workshop 2019 workspace. You should already have access to it. I'm currently in a part studio called Motor. Part studio is where you can create individual parts that will later be assembled in an assembly. To the left here is your features list. It contains all the sketches, features, and parts that you've already created in this part studio. Up here is the toolbar. It has the feature and sketch tools that you'll need to model your parts. The middle window is where you'll actually model your parts. We have the top, front, and right plane. You can select them by left clicking. You can right click to rotate, scroll to zoom in and out, and hold down the scroll button to pan. Now the pulley will go around and it'll be attached to this hexagonal motor hub, and we'll put in a screw through the hole to secure it tightly. The pulley will have a cylindrical shape, kind of like this, and it'll have a groove around the edge so that the pulley belt can go around it. So let's create a new part studio. The first thing you have to do is to create a sketch. So I'm going to select the front plane and hit the sketch button. Now before you move on, it's important to make sure you're looking at your sketch from top down. To do that, just right click and click View Normal to Sketch Plane. You can also do that by just pressing N on your keyboard. Let's create a circle, and we'll make the center at the origin. I'm gonna dimension it and make the diameter 1.5 inches. Notice how the outline of the circle turned from blue to black. This means that the sketch is now fully constrained and fully defined, meaning the location and the dimension of the circle are now locked in place. And you always want to make sure your sketch is fully defined before moving on and making it into a 3D object. Also, I chose this dimension just arbitrarily. You should actually look at your design constraints and carefully choose your dimensions. Let's exit out of the sketch. Now, to make it into a cylinder, click Extrude and click on the sketch that you just created. I'm gonna make this 0.3 inches. We're creating a new part, so we're gonna stay on new and hit OK. Now we have a cylinder. To add the groove in now, I'm gonna select the top plane and hit Sketch and View Normal to Sketch Plane. Now we want to be able to use this line right here, but right now we can't because this line is not actually part of our sketch. But we can select the Use tool and click on this line. Now that'll project this line onto the sketch that we're currently on. Normal to sketch plane. Now I'm going to select the line tool and draw our lines. Notice how it locks onto the perpendicular position. Draw a line, and as you run your cursor along the edge, it also locks onto the midpoint. Now do the same here. And hit escape to exit out of the tool. Notice how the lines are blue. This means we can just drag it around and do whatever we want with it, and we don't want that. So we're going to use something called constraints. These are all the constraints that we can use. Basically, constraints, we can control where these sketch elements are going to be by using constraints. For example, we can select this point and this line and hit coincident. It forces this point and this line to touch each other. We can do that here as well. Select this point and this line and hit constraint. These are now touching and these lines are now black. Now I'm going to try dragging it around, and the only thing you can change is this height. So I'm going to add in more dimensions. I'm going to make this line 0.1 inches. Perfect. Now we want to sketch, or now we want to revolve this sketch around this circle to actually make the groove. To do that, click revolve and click the sketch that we just drew, and we're gonna make the revolve axis this circle. This time we're adding new material onto an existing part. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the parts that you've created are now here. I'm gonna rename this part actually to Pulley. Now we have to draw in the hexagonal groove. So we're gonna select this plane, create a sketch, view normal to sketch plane. Now I'm gonna use the polygon tool, the center, and 6 sides. Escape. Now I want to constrain this line to be horizontal, and to dimension it, now this line was 0.283 inches. This line is 0.236 inches, and this diameter is 0.130. Okay. So I'm gonna make this 0.283. Hit OK. I'm gonna extrude it this time again. Select the sketch, but instead of adding more material, I'm gonna remove. And this depth was 0.236, I believe. Perfect. Hit OK. The last thing we have to do is to make a hole on the other side for the screw to go through. So select the plane again and hit sketch. I'm going to view normal to sketch plane, and I'm going to draw another circle here, and I'm going to dimension it 0.13. Perfect. again, extrude, select the sketch, and remove. This time I want the hole to go all the way through, so I'm gonna select through all. Now, there's our pulley. Now put them all together. To put them all together, I'm gonna create an assembly. And I'm gonna insert some parts. I'm gonna insert the motor that was given and hit OK. And since this is the first part that we're inserting, I'm gonna actually fix it in place. Oops. And I'm gonna add the hub and the pulley. Okay. Now to put the pulley and the hub together, we're going to use something called mate, which forces the selected surfaces to touch each other. So click on fasten mate, the first surface and the second surface, and now they're touching each other. Now you can reverse the orientation just like that. Oh, perfect. Now we have to mate this hub with the shaft of the motor, but we want this hub to actually rotate about the shaft. So we're actually going to use revolute mate this time. Select the hub and the shaft. I'm going to flip it and let's offset it by 0.3. Perfect. Now we have everything put together. I'm actually going to simulate it by clicking animate and play button, and you can see the motor hub spinning around the shaft. So there we have it.